What's up, everybody? It's Marc Lamont Hill here. Let's see who's in the room. Anybody here yet? We got folk on. All right, cool. Just wanted to make sure people in the room. I'm going to send a note out. While y'all fill up the room, I'm going to send a note out on Twitter. Join me right now on the Uncle Bobbie's IG account for a live conversation. Yo, I'm getting good at this, yo. I'm like sending tweets using IG. A month ago, I didn't know how to use IG Live. I'm still a little weird about it because y'all are like in my crib. Hey, everybody. I see people saying, hey, though. That's what's up. We got 83 people in the room already. That's beautiful. I'm over here live-in. I'm just going to give it like another 30 seconds. It's good to see you live, Dr. Marc Lamont Hill, Miss Elena Soler. Hey, Elena Soler, I appreciate the love. Byram Shoes, the shirt. Oh, this is Shop Black. This is, I don't know if y'all been to shopblack.com, but it lets you check out and connect with all kinds of black businesses around the country, but especially in Philadelphia. So it's a real dope business, man. And we got to continue to support black businesses. So I'm real excited that you all are supporting me and supporting us, but supporting me right now tonight on IG Live. There is so much conversation. Oh, the legend Phyllis O'Neill is in the building. Oh my God. Questions coming in already. I'm going to answer questions all night. Not all night. While I'm on, we're going to be on for a little bit. I'll probably be on for about a half hour, 40 minutes, taking questions, talking to folk. If people want to jump on IG Live with me, send a request. I might take some of those too. That way we can have all kinds of conversation, right? Like we could talk. I can answer your questions, but you can jump back on again. The first thing I want to do is thank all of you, though. I'm so grateful for all of the love, all the support, everything that has come to Uncle Bobbie's in the last few months. You know, when COVID-19 hit, and forgive me for not looking at the screen, I'm trying to pull up the IG Live here so I can read your comments while I talk to you. You know, but there's been so much love, so much stuff coming through that I'm grateful for from y'all. When COVID-19 hit, nobody expected it. You know, nobody thought that the country would be hit. Nobody thought they'd be off of work, sitting at home for months at a time. And, you know, we said we'll close and we'll figure it out. We'll find out what's going on. And weeks turn to months. And a lot of businesses have had to close. A lot of businesses, unfortunately, may not reopen. And we've been so grateful for the love we've received around the country to make sure that Uncle Bobbie's wasn't going to go down that path. You know, Justin Moore, who makes the magic happen on a day-to-day basis, you know, he said to me that we can't let this place close. And of course, I said the same thing, like, yo, we can't let this place close. But the most beautiful part of it for me was that so many of y'all said, we're not going to let this place close. We had a Gofundme campaign, and the Gofundme is still up if people obviously want to donate. We're grateful at all times. GoFundMe.com/We Still Here is around. GoFundMe.com/We Still Here. And people donated, and we set goals, and we exceeded the goals. We moved the goal up a little bit because we thought, you know, we'd be closed for 2 weeks a month. A business being closed for a month is different than a business being closed for 3 months. You know, when you close for a week or two, you know, you can just kind of keep the refrigerator on and keep rolling. You know, after 2 weeks, you're throwing away milk. You know, your vendors is closed. You know, after 2 or 3 months, you need a whole new arrangement in the store. And we have people who we want to support. We want to provide immediate financial relief for our staff because, you know, the government's supposed to do it. We're citizens. You know, you get unemployment. But when the unemployment check ain't come yet and you trying to eat, you trying to survive, you trying to get your life together, and you got to pay them bills. You can't wait for unemployment. And we want to be a different model. So we said we want to support folk. You know, we don't want to be like another company and say, you get it when you get it. You get it when we get it. So we wanted to have a different approach to all of it. And you all allowed us to do that. I want to thank you all for supporting book orders. You know, in addition to donating, you all have been with us buying books. You know, a lot of people are at home and they're buying more books, but you can't go to the local bookstore, but you've been supporting us online. Right there at the bottom, actually, Justin is in the room, I think, and he pinned bookshop.org/shop/Uncle Bobbie's. That link takes you to, what does it take you to? That link takes you to the bookshop.org, which supports independent bookstores. I know y'all love Amazon. I know y'all love getting that little 2-day shipping. But the truth is, small businesses are thriving by you using bookshop.org. Small businesses thrive when you walk into the store. So much of the business that we create, the jobs we create, the work we do in the community is based on you all coming into the store or going online and getting stuff from us and supporting us. And I know you can get it a little bit cheaper at Amazon sometime. And I know the shipping may come a day sooner on Amazon. But what you're doing for not just for us, but for the community is very clear and very really appreciated. I see somebody writing, Melissa01 wrote in, been purchasing from you guys in Lip Bar. Yo, Lip Bar is the spot. If you in the Bronx, go to Lip Bar. Shout out to my girl Noelle. This sister said, look, there's no bookstore in the Bronx, so we need to create something. And she did what black women do. Like she did the work. She did the labor. People told her no. She kept going. People said it can't happen. She said it will happen. And she built what is just a really beautiful bookstore. They also sell wine up there. So, you know, Uncle Bobbie's don't sell wine yet. That's on the to-do list one day. But you can go up there. I go to her spot. Black Puerto Rican PhD, Rosa Clemente, my sister, who I owe like 17 phone calls to. My apologies. And she has a new show that I hope you post the name of your show, Rosa, because I want people to watch it or listen to it. But I also want to be on it. So let me know. The name of the store is Uncle Bobbie's. More thoughts, Uncle Bobbie's. You can go to UncleBobbies.com. That's BOBBIES. And send your requests in, because if you send requests for live video, I'd love to bring some of you on the chat so we can talk a little bit. That's right. Disrupt the Chaos. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Rosa Clemente. I'm going to be on this week, hopefully, if she lets me. Anna Marie Doley says, Uncle Bobbie's has the best author programmer and the best sweet potato pie. Yo, it's funny you say that, because when we opened, there were a couple of things I was committed to. I mean, great books. Like we say, cool books, cool people, dope books, great coffee. Cool people, dope book, great coffee. Because that's what we have in the store. And but the sweet potato pie was something I cared about a lot. My Uncle Bobbie, when I go to my uncle, you can't talk about Uncle Bobbie without talking about Aunt Bessie. Yeah, we got sweet potato pie. I'm trying to tell y'all. My Aunt Bessie used to make she's the best cook I've ever been around. From the turkey wings to the fried chicken, the sweet potato pie, the apple pie. She was crazy. Her name said Senior Mama. You're right. I'll be forgetting stuff. But Aunt Bessie had the best sweet potato pie. So when I said, if I open an Uncle Bobbie's, I got to make sure that Aunt Bessie's represented in a way. And so the books were Uncle Bobbie's stuff, but the beautiful atmosphere, the welcoming atmosphere, the decorations, the internal decor, all that stuff that's Aunt Bessie. So that's Aunt Bessie's pie y'all eating, man. So just know that. People I see in here writing all the stuff they love about Uncle Bobbie's, the chai lattes, the matcha tea. Yo, the teas is crazy. We have all that stuff, and we're going to be open again. People say, when y'all opening? We are going to open on, I don't know. But here's what I do know. The state is now in yellow mode, which means as of yesterday, as of Friday, businesses are allowed to kind of reopen. People are allowed, there was no more stay-at-home order. What else could people do? Businesses could kind of open a little bit more, but it was just curbside and delivery. And our model is very community-based. And we didn't want to open just to say we opened. We don't want to make money in a way that compromises the quality of what we do. And we didn't want to make money in a way that would compromise anybody's health. Because if I don't feel comfortable sitting in there, if I don't feel comfortable being there, then I'm not going to ask you all to do that. That's just not how I operate. That's not how Uncle Bobbie's operates. We value your health and your well-being more than anything else. So we will open as soon as possible. And it will be soon. I promise you it will be soon. But I don't want to say it's going to be tomorrow or next Wednesday or Wednesday after next, because a couple things have happened. We've had Memorial Day. We had the stay-at-home order lifted. We've had the curfews lifted. We've had these things happen, and it might be 2 weeks before we really kind of know, in some ways, the public health response to that. So I want to make sure that in 2 weeks, if the numbers are still dropping, then we'll make an announcement. If in 2-3 weeks, we're flat and or dropping, then I feel more comfortable saying, okay, here's where we are, and here's the date we're going to open. And then from there, we can plan a date. Because again, we don't want to be janky and just open with like 2 cups of tea, 4 books, and you know what I mean, and a yogurt from last February, which we would never do because that's illegal and disgusting. Instead, what we want to do is say, okay, we see a plan here. It looks safe, and now we're going to unveil a process that'll take a few weeks for us to get up and running. So we have all of the stuff that y'all like: the food, the atmosphere, the music, the shirts, all of that. We want to make sure that all of that is available for you. We want to be responsible because that's always the most important thing. Y'all got questions for me though? What kind of questions y'all got for me? Let me see. I can scroll up too. I can scroll up. I'm just trying to see here. I mean, let me look on mine. Uncle Bobbie's. I'm gonna look on the computer. Let's see here. I'm in Los Angeles. Do you ship sweet potato pie? We don't yet, but that is something we will be doing at some point in the future, the very near future. That's not like a I'm blowing you off answer. That's like a real thing. We want to ship food. We've already started shipping books. We ship apparel. You know, the sweet potato pie might be the next move. Let me see here. Miss Elena Solit said, what are you working on? New book? Man, I'm working on 3 books. I'm working on 3 books right now. And one I turned in. People, by the way, feel like COVID was like the time. I hear a lot of people say, oh, you was home, you 3 months, you could have wrote 3 books. If you ain't write while you was on while COVID was happening, then you ain't doing nothing. You wasn't serious. No, untrue. I remember Tupac said one time when he was in jail, he's like, everybody thought when I was in jail, I would just be, writing and have all these albums written. He was like, nah, he said, there's nothing about jail that made me want to be creative. So I'm saying that to say, during COVID, don't be hard on yourself. Don't feel like, oh, I didn't write my business plan out. I didn't get to write the great American novel in 3 months. It's okay. You weren't working from home. You were working at home during the greatest public health crisis of the last 100 years. That's not warm for your body. That's not nurturing for the psyche. That doesn't make you want to go. So some people did get stuff done. So I'm not saying that. And I got some stuff done. But there were ways that I couldn't get certain things done because I had to deal with life, man. Life is heavy. And don't be hard on yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be forgiving with yourself for what you weren't able to do, and celebrate what you were able to do, because life is hard enough and the world is hard enough on us. So don't be hard on yourself. Melissa 01 said, biggest thing you've been missing these past months. 2 things. The gym, and sushi. I love sushi. And not that low grade bullshit sushi that Justin be having me eat or would like to eat at the Sixers games. Nah, I'm talking about bougie sushi. I'm bougie about my sushi. And it's a few spots in Philly that are crazy. And when I go to New York, there's a couple spots that are ridiculous. My bank account is probably happy that I didn't do that, but I miss it. I miss going to the gym and I miss eating good food. And even when I eat good food, it's different when it gets mailed to you all the time. Like sometimes, Season D, if you can work out at home, why are you starting trouble? See, I had my excuse all set, which was that I didn't work out because I couldn't. Now you trying to say, you think I could just do jumping jacks at home? You think I could just go for a walk? You think I could use the treadmill and spin bike I got upstairs? I don't want to talk about it. Name the spots for sushi. In Philly, I'll tell you my favorite sushi spot in Philly is actually Pod. If you go to Pod, you can eat there, you can and get whatever you want. It's a dope restaurant and good stuff there. Other than just sushi, if you're not a sushi person, there's a couple other spots, but that's one of my favorites. The 3 books. I have one book that should be out. I'm writing a book on how to. It's called Schooling Abolition. It's about how we can use school to help us dismantle prisons. How we can use school to reimagine a world without prisons. The title is Schooling Abolition. It should be out next spring. I have a book called Except for Palestine, The Limits of Progressive Politics, which should be out in January. That's all turned in. And that you can pre-order now, I think, at Bookshop and other places. It's called Except for Palestine. And now I have a new book that I just agreed to write about 3 days ago. And it's a very small book, and I have to write it within a month. So I will be needing all the support I can. That means I got to cut down on my fried chicken and hot sauce stuff. It means I got to wake up early and be disciplined. But I want to write something about the moment we're in right now, and figure out how to help us get free. So that's what I'm definitely going to do. I'm real excited about that. What shows have you been binging, if any? I watched Dave. I watched all 10 episodes of Dave. Hilarious. Not as good as Atlanta, but good. I watched The New Girl today. I watched 2 episodes of The New Girl. It was cool. I rewatched all of The Office, and I started watching Community. I'm on season 5 of Community. I've been watching it for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and I'm up to season 5, and that's pretty dope. Swar Rock said, "You're so prolific in your writing. Tips for folks wanting to up their practice and diligence." That's a good question. Maybe I'll do a live on writing one day. I don't feel productive or prolific most of the time. People always say that. I'm more of a reader than a writer. Like, I'm in my office right now, and it's like lots of books and stuff, and there's another floor of books like this as well. For me, it's about the writing, about the reading, and about consuming knowledge and ideas more. And there's years where I don't feel like I can write. There's years where I don't feel super productive. But, when I write, I'm at my best when I'm disciplined with writing. So whenever people say, Larry Naaman said, "What's your nap schedule?" My nap schedule is actually the thing that makes me not productive. Larry and I worked at HuffPost together, and they had something they called Marcolepsy, which was like me falling asleep all the time. And it's actual and factual that I can fall asleep anywhere and at any given time. I have a little narcolepsy. So it's very true. So my nap schedule actually has gotten better because I just plan for a nap in the middle of the day so I don't doze off as much. And the problem with being home all day is that I got 24 hours to write these 5 pages a day. So, before you know it, it's noon. You're like, okay, I can eat lunch and then do it. I'll take a nap. Oh, it's 3 o'clock. I got plenty of time. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. And before you know it, it's the end of the day. And you say, but there's a million more of these. So, that's a whole other thing. It's quite simple. 11 said, "Have you connected with Cornell West lately? Would love to see y'all collab." When did I talk to Cornell? Cornell called me about 2 months ago, and I don't get to talk to Cornell that often, but he was like, "Man, I just got to tell you, man, the work you're doing right now is so amazing. I'm so proud of you, man." And Cornell don't just call you. So he talked to me for like an hour. I was actually in the middle of something, but I was so happy he called, and he was so proud of something he had seen me write that meant the world to me. I grew up, admiring Cornell, Michael Eric Dyson, Trisha Rose, Bell Hook, those kind of folk. And so when you get a phone call from your heroes telling you that they like what you're doing and they're proud of you, man, it means a whole lot. It reminds me of that. I remember one time, I'll tell you that story another time. I want to answer your question about the books. The best way to write is to write every day. You write with your ass. You sit in that chair and you write. 2 hours a day for me is the way to go. You can always write more, but make the 2 hours a day you're writing. But too often people make writing the thing you do once you do everything else. We do it with the gym sometimes if we're not serious too. So it'll be like, I'm gonna write on Tuesday. All right, let me see. 9 o'clock, I gotta go to the gym. And then like 11, I gotta meet my homie. Noon, I gotta do lunch. And then like 2, I gotta pick up the kid. And you're trying to find 2 hours in a day to write. And you can't do that because there was always a reason not to write. You have to, instead, you treat your writing like any other appointment. So in the same way you wouldn't say to somebody, if you go to church, you wouldn't say to somebody, well, you know what, I'll just miss church and we can talk. You'd be like, oh, I got church from 10 to 12. After church, let's meet. Or I got therapy on Wednesday at 6, so I can't meet you on Wednesday at 6, but I can meet you after therapy. I can meet you at 7. You don't move therapy around every time somebody has a meeting, or every time you don't stop, not go to church or the masjid on Friday, or at any time, actually. Like you treat it like prayer. Treat it like a meeting. Treat it like a meeting you wouldn't miss. And that way, so then when somebody says to you, hey, can you meet at 9? Well, nah, 9 to 11 is my writing time, but I can meet anytime after that, or I can meet you before that. So now it creates your writing as a sacred time for you. And then every day you do that. And some people say, well, I'm better writing. I'm better as a binge writer. Yani, like I like to write once and just write a lot. Nobody writes better that way. That's like saying I'm better at learning something by crashing. You know what I mean? By cramming, right? Like I like to study 15 hours before the test and don't do that. It's wrong. Everybody learns over time better than they do crashing at one time. Everybody writes better in increments. Now, that's not to say I don't binge write. There are times where I got deadlines. It's times where, I drink some coffee or whatever, and I'm like motivated and I'll go hard 10, 12 hours writing. But that's not my best writing, and that's not my only writing. Everything else is on top of that. And so if I do 5 hours a day, it's on top of the 2. So make sure you protect your time and protect your writing and do it every single day. Even if you feel like you ain't got nothing to write. It's days where I just push around words and change the font, but just staring at it, sitting with the idea allows me to, feel better. And the next day I might hit something. Do you still like Snapple and soft pretzels? I'm from Philly, so I always love soft pretzels. I like Snapple. I haven't had a Snapple in a year. I haven't had 5 Snapples in the last 3 years because there's so much sugar it was making. I've had to cut down on my sugar. Somebody said, how do you beat writer's block? I beat writer's block by, one, again, you write with your ass. So you got to just sit there and stay. But also I read. I get creative. You know what I mean? So I'm more inspired, and I'm not just inspired by the topic, right? So if I'm writing a book on abolition, which I am, I might throw on some Dead Prez, Let's Get Free, and get super motivated. But I might also, Jasmine on Monday says, Marc Lamont Hill cheats at phase 10. Wow, you are low. I happen to be a phase 10 god. And just so y'all know, I am the best card player, whether it's spades, phase 10, anything you name. I am the best that you've ever met in real life. And I tend to dominate the competition, and they feel awkward when I do so. So, whatever floats your boat, you know what I'm saying? But just know I'm really good at that stuff. What was I talking about, though, before the lies came in? See, I done forgot. They say the devil steal your thought, man. Whew. Let me see. How do you gain more confidence in your writing? Somebody asked me, I know what I was saying before that, though. I might throw in Dead Prez to get hyped for abolition. I'm thinking all this radical shit. But then sometimes I might watch a TV show. I might read a magazine. I might look at a piece of visual art that gets my mind moving in a different way, that gets my creative juices flowing. So a lot of times, sometimes I go for a walk. But what you do not do, because when you really got writer's block or you really don't feel like writing some shit, you will come up with every reason to do something. Yo, this table need to get built. It's been sitting in the box for 3 years, but on that day, you just have to do it. Oh, I wonder how my ex is doing. Let me go down Facebook rabbit holes for the next 5 hours. Oh, let me call my great uncle I ain't talked to in 10 years. Do not do that. Sit in that chair and write. Be disciplined, but read good words. Don't steal good words, but read good words. Would you consider having any Scrabble tournaments at Uncle Bobbie's? Yeah, that actually is a good idea. That's a nice word thing. I wouldn't participate because, again, I'm freakishly good at these things. And so, y'all would be embarrassed and shamed at the level of mollywopping I would give to y'all. Brother Gregory Muhammad, my brother, said, how can someone formerly incarcerated get published? Getting published is its own thing. I mean, so there's a couple things. One, you can what can you do? You can self-publish, and a lot of brothers and sisters who were incarcerated wrote books while they were incarcerated. So the first thing I would say is write the book. Start writing, get an idea down. If you wrote it while you were incarcerated and you come out, have an editor look at it, have someone else look at it. A lot of times we think stuff, and this isn't for incarcerated people in particular, all of us write stuff, and sometimes it's better than we think it is. Sometimes it's not as good as we think it is. But the key is to write something and then share your work. Make sure it feels good. If you haven't written the book yet, I would strongly suggest not writing a whole book before you let somebody read it. Because sometimes the idea is good and the book is good, but you start writing in one direction, and then you talk to an editor, like, yo, this is good, but you should write these other 5 things. But by then you are these 200 pages in, and if you 200 pages in, you ain't changing direction. So a lot of times getting early feedback on an opening chapter or an introduction, have somebody you trust read it, get feedback. If you're not a writer naturally, get an editor to help you. Then you have to decide what path you want to take. Some people self-publish. Self-publishing has benefits. You get most of the money. You get like 90% of the money, if not more. You have complete control of the process and the product. And your hustle determines everything. If you a hustler and you a grinder, you got it. Are you a fan of Jacqueline Woodson? Absolutely. The flip of that is when you work with a publishing house, the book, you don't have to invest your own money in it. You have an in-house team whose job it is to support you in terms of editing, writing, marketing, all these things. Not writing, editing, marketing, sales, distribution, etc., which is great. If you're trying to self-publish, I say start getting feedback, get an editor, and then look at one of these great online, whether it's Create Space. Kevin Powell wrote a book a few years ago that he was very transparent about, was self-published, and he's a very accomplished author, but he decided, oh my God, I've been thinking of a book on Black disposability in this era. My working title is Not Anybody. What do you think? I think, sir, that you are human garbage. Thank you. So look to Kevin Powell and other examples of people who have used A-Libris or Ex-Libris, Create Space, and other places to publish your own books. Another way to do it, if you want to write a book, is to look for a book agent. Book agents are harder to get. A lot of the major publishing houses won't take a manuscript without you having an agent. So you can't just call up Simon & Schuster like, hey, I got this book, I want y'all to read it. You can't just send it in. You need an agent. So shopping for an agent is something else you can do. I'm going to do, let's do a workshop on book writing. Can we do that? Can we do an online workshop on book writing and authorship and publishing? I promise we can do that in the next couple of weeks, if not sooner. Miss Maxine said, once heard you speak Arabic. When did you learn? How difficult was it for you? I'm trying to learn Italian. I studied Arabic at undergrad. I took a year of formal Arabic, of classical Arabic. And then I studied on my own for many years. And then I studied, and then I traveled and learned it in the streets. And then I hired a tutor to help me do some other Arabic study. And I have taken advanced level Arabic training. I have certificates in Arabic training from Quds University of Jerusalem, and also Lebanese American University of Beirut. So I've also studied both formal and informal Arabic there. And I still work with a tutor. I'm fluent, and I still multiple times a week have a tutor in Jordan who I talk to on Skype. It's mostly just talking now and conversation, because during COVID you can lose language, and because I'm making a movie in Arabic, and I do my research, my ethnographic research. I'm an anthropologist. I do my research in Arabic. It's very challenging to keep a language going if you're not constantly talking. So I talk to people every day to keep my stuff going. Otras preguntas. Let's see here. How do you gain more confidence in your writing? Honestly, by writing and sharing. By writing and sharing and owning the identity. And like I said, when I got feedback and people actually like what I wrote, that shit changed everything to me. The movie? The movie's called Black in the Holy Land. You can see it on YouTube. The trailer's running right now. It's called Black in the Holy Land. And it's about people of African descent in the Middle East, specifically Israel, Palestine. I'm very excited about it. It should be done very, very soon. Yvonne Lasha too says, how many languages do you speak? I speak English. I speak Arabic. I speak a few dialects of Arabic. I speak Spanish. In fact, I taught, my first job at a college was a high school Spanish teacher at Furnace High School. I have reading fluency in Hebrew. I'm not fluent in spoken Hebrew. And a few other languages I'm fairly solid in, but I wouldn't say fluent or anything like that. But I hope to improve my Hebrew and my French in the next couple of years. But you know, it's coming. It's coming. We got so much stuff to do. What else y'all want to know before we go? And again, thank y'all for supporting. I have pinned down bookshop.org shop Uncle Bobbie's. If you want to buy books, you can do that. If you want to support our GoFundMe, you can go to Gofundme.com. I know Justin posted it earlier, but you can go to Gofundme.com. Let me type it in. Gofundme.com/we still here. And you can also, April May's requested to be in. Oh, we got some requests to be in. Let me jump in. I'll do like another 15 minutes, so I'll take a question from folk. Let me pin this first. Let me see her. Let me see who's in here to view. First, let me go to Coach Curtis 88. Let me see where Curtis at. Curtis.
Hey, oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
How you doing, good brother?
Oh, man, this is, yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe I'm talking to you.
Oh man, I'm your brother, man. What's good?
I've been following you forever, man. Like seriously, like this is, you inspire. I know you probably get this all the time, but you really inspired me. I was having tough times trying to get through college and everything like that, but being able to see you on national TV and an intelligent black man that is speaking his mind, like that was everything for me. So it kind of helped me continue on and do what I have to do. So right now, I'm a high school teacher. I teach AP U.S. History in Northern Virginia, a little area called Loudoun County. And hold on a second, this thing's going off. I've been teaching there for about 9 years, going on 10 now. And for the past 8 years, I've been like lobbying for a course on African studies, and I've been really fighting for it. They're finally letting me have this this coming year. So I'm super excited. I can't wait. My admin is super, like they've been behind me about this, and my department chair has been fighting for me for the last few years to try to get this section. So anyway, I don't mean to ramble on, but I was just wondering if you were to teach, the course is called African Studies in the Diaspora. So I have some ideas on where I want to go. I want to talk about African studies for the first semester, because it's a full year course. And then for the second semester, I want to talk about the diaspora, so we can kind of make it more relatable to the students in that community. It's a very affluent community. So I think it's a really good opportunity. So I was wondering, if you were to teach a course like that, what kind of resources would you suggest? Are there any books that you would suggest? I kind of have some ideas of stuff, but I didn't know if you had anything.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations and shout out to you for doing that work. It's so necessary. And honestly, African studies, Black studies, ethnic studies, women's studies, queer studies, none of these things ever happen without struggle. These are all fields and disciplines that emerge out of struggle. So, you know, a lot of times people say, like, well, how can I get in my school? The answer is always struggle. We have an African history course here in Philly, but we only were able to get it after decades of grassroots organizing and struggle and push. So you are part of a long tradition of folk doing that, bro. So first of all, just salute to you for doing that. And I think an African and Africana history course is really important because so often people want you to believe that our history begins and ends with slavery. And part of what you're doing is reminding people that we have a long, deep, and rich history that was interrupted by slavery. It didn't begin with slavery. Our story does not begin and end with us being stolen from Africa. And so that's a key thing. So when it comes to text, a few things. It's funny, I have a book. This is a wonderful one of the North American books here. It's by Robin Kelly and Earl Lewis. It's called A History of African Americans. It's a wonderful sort of it goes over 5 centuries of black struggle, right? It's a wonderful book. Let me see what else I got here. But on top of that, and I can give you a list of books. The big picture stuff, and we can talk offline about other stuff, but the big picture stuff that I would say is, for one, think a lot about using different, if we're going to really take this on an Africana mode, it doesn't just mean looking around the diaspora, although that's important, right? We should be thinking about not just teaching about what's happening in the United States, as you said, but also thinking globally, right? What does it mean to be black in Brazil? What does it mean to be black in South Africa? What does it mean to be black? Forget the word black. What does it mean for us to exist in Brazil, in South Africa, in Botswana, in wherever? All that's important. And so covering those different areas, I think, is key. But there's another thing, because sometimes the push in multiculturalism for education has been, okay, we're going to take these white stories and add black people to them. Right? And then in a radical move, sometimes we're going to get rid of these white folk and to have a course all on black folk. But oftentimes we still use the same, what we call epistemologies of Europe. In other words, we use the same ways of knowing as Europe. So in other words, what would it mean for me to have a course on history of Africa that doesn't just use a textbook, but also uses music, also uses poetry? We got Ursula Rucker in the room, by the way. Shout out to my dear sister, Ursula Rucker. I love you so much. How can we use all those different ways of being and knowing, so that we don't just say, okay, here's what we did before the colonizers came. Here's how we lived. Here's how we practiced. But how can we delve into that stuff in richer and more interesting ways? In the United States, in particular, I think we need to hear the stories of folk, not just stories about folk. So slave narratives, for example, are amazing. The narratives of enslaved Africans are amazing, and there's a specific official collection of a few hundred of them that's in DC that I'm sure you know about, that we can list, that we can read and learn from. There's music. Oh my God. And I think that that's all really important stuff. I would have some interactive stuff. I mean, in the age of social media, think about all the dope stuff we can do in the age of social media for you to connect to the diaspora without ever leaving the classroom. You know what I mean? Yeah, all this stuff, I think, is part of the equation. And there's some really interesting Africana curricula that are here. There's a brother I want you to talk to. Shoot me an email, or DM me your email, and I'll give you a call and let's go through this in detail. But there's a brother who makes there's 2 people I want you to talk to. One is Greg Carr. He's a professor of Africana Studies at Howard University, and he was one of the key people to fight for the Africana Studies curriculum here in the United States. So also Dana Williams, who's here in the school district here in Philadelphia. I'll connect you to both of them. Okay. I'll connect you to both of them. Man. We'll make it happen. All right, good brother?
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time.
And I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yo, this is kind of fun, man. We got to do more of this. Let me see who else is on this, John. Oh, and we got questions. Yo, this is crazy. I didn't even know we could do this. Wow, this is so dope. What's your current favorite read? I actually was just rereading. Let me see. I was rereading a couple books. And like I said, this is like the real shelves, man. Like there's thousands of books. And I was rereading a few books here, partly working on my stuff and partly just to be cool. I was reading, because this book is really dope. It's called Colored No More, Reinventing Black Womanhood in Washington, D.C. Learned a bunch of dope stuff by Reverend Dr. Treva B. Lindsay, a brilliant scholar, brilliant historian, and a wonderful book. I also was just reading Exceptional Violence, which is about citizenship in transnational Jamaica. It's actually not Deborah Thomas's most recent book, but it's an interesting book. For you educators out there, I was reading Justice on Both Sides, Transforming Education Through Restorative Justice. I'm sure you can imagine after the week we've been having, you can understand why we need to be talking about restorative justice as much as possible. what else am I reading? These are the books. So these are the books I've been reading. I don't know how to flip my camera around, but yeah, I just do old school. These are the books I've been reading. So, really beautiful, classic book by my dear departed friend Maxine Green, a wonderful educational philosopher. Variations on the Blue Guitar, getting us to think about arts and education. Those are some of the books that I've been reading. Oh, Amy Kaplan's Our American Israel, which is kind of a story of American relationship with the state of Israel. Super interesting, super complicated, and well written. It's a magically written book. Let's see who else got in here. Oh, Phil Roundtree, Captain Paul said, still heavy, and then having Cassie on my show. Yeah, heavy. Let me pause everything. Heavy is the best memoir I've read in my life. Let me just say that in my life as a memoir. And it's one of the best books I've read in the last 2 decades. It is powerful. It is harrowing. It is haunting. It's a life-changing kind of book for me. So if you can read Heavy by Kiese Layman, you should do it. You should absolutely do it. Like, the shit will have you in tears. It'll have you yelling. It'll have you loving black folk even more than you already do. It'll have you. It's something else, man. That's all I can say. It's something else. Let me see what else we got. When is Uncle Bobbie's coming to Harlem? We don't need an Uncle Bobbie's in Harlem, right? I mean, if you're in Harlem, you should go up to the Bronx. I know it's not super close, but it's not super far. You should be up at Lip Bar. Lip Bar is the spot, yo. Make sure you're there. Seriously, support that sister. What else we got here? Is that Queen? Okay. Oh, y'all asking complicated. Now, how do I get the requests up? Okay, go live. Oh, I see. This old. I'm like an old man with the phone, so don't judge me. I'm trying to. Did somebody else have a request to send the request again if you want to jump on the live? Oh, here we go. Let's go with a sister here. Hadil 1245. It look like. What up, Q?
Oh my God! Hi, Marc.
Hi.
How are you?
I am good. I see you got the mask on.
Yeah, I've been out, unfortunately. Marc, I had a question.
Yeah.
So, I know you because Hazim Hardiman always talks about you, and we're at Oxford, and we've been trying to get you and a bunch of other prolific authors and PhDs to come to Oxford and kind of help us with our Rhodes Prow work. We've kind of been struggling in terms of like what to do in terms of educating fellow students, and sort of, not wanting to do one-off events. And given your work and kind of like the situations you've kind of encountered in doing so, how do you suggest we do that? And
what specific kind of work are you thinking about?
Well, that's the thing. Like, we don't know if like doing a conference would be good.
No, but what's the subject? You're saying your work around what issue?
Basically, I mean, not just like solidarity with Palestine, but sort of like linking our movements, right? So there's like
got you.
International solidarity movements between Palestine and Black Americans and South Africans. There's like books we recommended for people to read, but kind of like getting people energized and really encouraging them is something that like we've really been trying to focus on. And you're hard to reach, so how do we reach you and try to get you to come out?
The question and the shade simultaneously. Email is the best way to get me, or through Hazim. I try to answer at least every 3 Hazim texts. I think the short answer to your question, and again, we can do a whole thing on this too, on solidarity building. But I think part of it is people have to understand themselves to be linked to common struggles, right? So if you're in Minnesota right now and you see police being beaten and trained, and then we know about sort of exchange programs across the world, then we can say, okay, wait a minute. The police violence that we're experiencing here in the United States is similar to the police violence we're experiencing around the world. And what's the interconnection of that, right? And also giving people a common analysis, meaning if people understand that the systems that oppress us don't stop at the border, right? Mm-hmm. The systems that oppress us don't have passports or Hawiyah or anything like that, right? Like capitalism doesn't stop at the border. So we can't dismantle labor exploitation if we don't think about capitalism as a global process, not as a local or domestic one. So part of why people don't feel connected to an issue in Latin America or an issue in Palestine or an issue anywhere is because they don't necessarily see the relationship between the two. And it's like, how can I worry about that if I'm catching hell over here?
Exactly.
And so, of course, there's a human impulse in me to say, well, look, I should care about those people because I care about Kashmir because I care about Kashmir. I care about, you know what I mean? I should just care about Kashmir because, right? However, if I can also talk about the way that these systems of power and oppression are interconnected, then I can also convince people that it's an interest conversion, that caring about Kashmir also shapes what happens in Palestine, what happens in New York, what happens in China, right? And getting people to understand that, and then getting people to organize around that energy, because it's much easier to get people to organize around a solidarity when they know there's something in it for them. And it's unfortunate that it works that way, but it's a fundamentally kind of human thing. But also, oppressed people are catching hell, and they ain't got time to necessarily think about this. You know what I mean? I'm literally trying to stop the police from beating me. I'm literally trying to stop people from being killed in broad daylight.
Yep.
So I can't necessarily think about what's happening in the West Bank. But if I understand the relationship between security forces and the relationship between exchange program, police exchanges, and the relationship between white supremacists as a logic, now I can get somewhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I feel like that's why your voice in this has been so important, because there's been an article circulating recently by someone who wrote for the Haaretz, or the Liberal Zionist organization. Yeah. They've been saying, like, Palestinian lives should be basically, like, he was arguing that we shouldn't be centering, or that we shouldn't be talking about Palestine right now because we need to center Black voices. And I'm like, no, but, like, if we want to center Black voices, it's important to also discuss Palestine, because the same forces that are, like, oppressing us there are, like, brought from America and trained there as well. Like, our oppression is all linked. And I think that having people like you, obviously Sister Linda, and, like, a bunch of academics come out and say, like, no, our oppression is linked, our international solidarity movements are important. And if we read these things, and we'll try to amplify them together. I know that the village where my family members are from in Palestine, like, they've been doing, like, a lot of work.
Where are they from?
The Jdira. I don't know if you know. You know where that is?
Generally, it's in the West Bank, right?
Yeah.
But where specific? What's it near? Ramallah?
Yeah, like 20 minutes from Ramallah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I've been near. I've never been in it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really small, but it's, like, so incredible that George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, their names have made the West Bank. And I think that there's, like, important solidarity in that, and the fact that, like, we aren't ignoring each other's movements and that we're strengthening one another in that way is, like, means something, you know?
It does. And I think it's both and, right? So on the one hand, we need to support and unify and draw connections to each other's movements, but we also don't want to take up too much space at a moment, because that's also a tactical thing. Like, the world is talking about the extinguishing of Black lives right now. Mm-hmm. And the world is talking about the way that state violence and white supremacy sort of conspire to kill all of us, right? Or who are Black in this country in a certain kind of way. And so we also don't want to divert attention to the extent that we are strategically unwise, but we never want to be so reductive or limiting that we think that somehow the same forces that are white supremacists won't also kill you. They also won't come after. It's a fascinating thing, right? So white supremacy is anti-Semitic. White supremacy is anti-Black. White supremacy is all these things, right? And so we have to be able to address all those issues at the same time and take those things very, very seriously. And sometimes if we have our own silos and don't connect, we miss that moment. But we also have to be tactical and strategic, because there's also a way that Black issues get decentered, that Black becomes people of color, that Black women becomes women of color, that Black struggle becomes, and as a way of doing that, we lose sight of the very specific ways that harm is done or damage is done to Black people in a very specific context. Similarly, it's like when I bring delegations to Palestine, and we're in Jerusalem and we're looking at home evacuations and home demolitions, or we go to the West Bank and we see people who are struggling with issues of land, and people say, oh, it's like the United States. Oh, this is like gentrification. Oh, this is like such and such. And it's like, no, it's not the same, right? Mm-hmm. But because I have citizenship. No matter how fucked up things get in America, I am legally, juridically a citizen in a way that your family are not citizens of the overarching nation state, right? Mm-hmm. And even there might be a more comparable question inside of 48 around black rights, etc. in terms of the juridical stuff. Anyway, all that's a whole other conversation. But my point is, we don't have to be the same to be in solidarity with one another. We can be in solidarity with one another and acknowledge our differences, but so often solidarity hinges upon sameness. Oh, we got the same struggle. Oh, we got the same oppressor. Oh, we got the same enemies. Sometimes we do. Mm-hmm. And in a deep fundamental level, we do. But then there's other ways that the differences are also significant. And oftentimes what happens is, whether it's in feminist movements where white women superimpose themselves over everyone else, or in other movements, we lose sight of those specifics and those differences. And we need both, you know?
Marc, is there like something, I mean, I know this isn't like a one and done thing at all, but like, I mean, in response to the circulation of this article, I feel like I've been like responding to friends one-on-one. We've been having all these conversations, right? And like, it's obviously important to center what's happening right now with the Black Lives Matter and Black Power movement. Like it's beautiful and I love it. But I feel like in the midst of all of that, there's been so much misinformation spread about solidarity movements in general. And I think yeah, go ahead.
I think we got to go, and I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna answer that question as I go. And thank you so much, Hadid.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think now is an opportunity to spread information, right? So in response to that specific article, you know, I didn't read the specific article, so I can't speak to its details. But what we do need to do is spread. I think writing another article is important, and very specifically talking about the history of solidarity movements. Solidarity has existed for a very long time, and we sort of talk about solidarity with regard specifically on this Palestine question. It's like, oh, you know, since 2014. Well, no, there's been solidarity with Palestine since really the 50s, but certainly since 1967. After the Bandung Conference of 55, you saw a very interesting conversation about Afro-Asiatic politics. In 67, after the Six-Day War, you saw SNCC. You saw SNCC, specifically Ethel Minor, articulate a very powerful and challenging narrative about solidarity and colonialism. Jesse Jackson, Andrew Young, Angela Davis, Alice Walker, whole bunch of folks, June Jordan. And again, Black women have been honestly at the forefront of so much of the solidarity, where specifically Angela Davis and June Jordan, that we got to talk about that, and we got to think about that. And we also have to think about solidarity, not just in terms of the global North and the global South, but also think about South-South. In other words, not just what did America do in these countries, what did South Africa do? What did Uganda do? What did Egypt do? What did Ghana do? What did Cuba do? These are the kind of questions we need to ask. Anyway, more people coming out. I'm going to talk for another 5 minutes. I'm going to move a little bit faster. I'm going to take like one question, and we're going to keep rocking. Let's see. It's kind of fun, too, ain't it? I'm enjoying this. What's up, good brother?
What's up, Nuke? I met you one time at Ohio State.
Oh, nice. The Zeta chapter.
Yeah. I actually went through Beta Eta at University of Cincinnati. But, I was the organizer for the protest here in Cincinnati. And it was like the first one when like everything was like super volatile. And I reached out to like a lot of the Black leaders in the city. And, you know, of course, the point was to, you know, establish some solidarity. But one thing that happened was that I just noticed that local Black leadership was kind of missing a lot. And, you know, we were unorganized. We weren't on the same page. And it just left me with a lot of questions. One question that I had was like, what are we all overall working for? Is there like this Black agenda that we all agree on? And I've seen many things here and there, but I don't know if it's like one particular thing that we can all just say, like, that's what we're pointing to. Because, you know, it seems like they're kind of leaving it up to me to, you know, figure this thing out. And I'm like, whoa, I just was mad. I just was mad.
Word. It's a good question, and thank you for it. And I just realized it's almost 7 o'clock, so it's going to be the last question, y'all. I sorry about that. I'm going to come back and do this some more, but it's wonderful that the last question comes from a man of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And the brilliant question, yo, to the news. Yo, it's like my mind just knew to go to this person. So I think it's a great question. I'm excited to see so many people who are not normally on the front lines. And I'm so excited to see people who have always been on the front lines remaining on the front lines. I think what I'm noticing, though, is over the course of the last 10 days, even as you just talked about, there's a shift even in the language and the politics that we're doing. So on the ground, I'm watching this amazing work happen on the ground. For example, after Breonna Taylor was killed, murdered by the state, and people are on the ground talking about no-knock warrants. People are talking about defunding police. I'm watching, after Ahmaud Arbery, I'm watching all these sort of conversations about how we can reimagine the law, how we can reimagine the fundamental role and purpose of police. And then I'm also watching people right now saying, we want police to behave more nicely. We want more rules. I saw DeRay McKesson had come up with, published an 8-point talk about an 8-point plan for policing, which in some ways was different than some of the other offerings of policing. And so you got these different ideas and these different positions. And if we're going to organize and fight, there's some things we all agree on. Police shouldn't kill us. We all agree on that. Police shouldn't beat us, right? That there should be accountability for law enforcement. But those are sort of almost the front layer of this. We have to get to more fundamental questions about what our end goal is. What's our freedom dream? Mm-hmm. And as Robin Kelly would say. And so at this moment, I think we need to continue to resist, but ask ourselves, what does freedom look like? Mm-hmm. Right? Freedom isn't getting beaten by black cops who are from our neighborhood. Right? That ain't freedom. Freedom is living in a world where we are not being occupied, our neighbors aren't occupied and surveilled and terrorized by people who are supposed to be protecting and serving us. How do we get to that place is the question.
See, I feel like I've been imagining something just like reforms across like all industries, because, black people dealing with racism in education, tech, media, prison reform,
Word.
It's symbols that need to be created. And I'm just wondering, I know it's not, I know I've been kind of thrust into this leadership position since the whole protest thing, and everybody's asking so what do you want? What do you want?
And that's why I'm telling you as a leader, my brother, to think not just about, I showed a book earlier, Variations on a Blue Guitar by Maxine Green. She wrote another book called Releasing the Imagination. I want you to release your imagination for a minute. We don't have to start with reform. I want y'all to go to the radical level. Forget reform change. I'm talking about radical change. And for those that know, the root of the word radical is the word root, right? To get at the root of something, right? What is the fundamental thing that we can ask for? So it's one thing to say, all right, we're going to get body cameras, or we're going to get, a review board of police. I'm with that. I love that, right? And as Ruth Gilmore teaches us, some reforms are okay as long as they don't stop the ultimate goal of completely rebuilding this thing. And what I want to say is, what would rebuilding this thing look like? What would a world without prisons look like? What would a world with abolished police forces look like? What would a world, and same thing in the school realm, right? What would school, how could we imagine school in a way that gives us permission to believe that prisons are not necessary? And I know some of y'all are like, yo, this Negro tripping. He's talking about no prisons, no police. Maybe I am. I'm not. I'm right, actually. I'm right. But even if I were not right, and Instagram gave me 1 minute and 50 seconds left. What I'm saying is, let's be radical and imagine possibilities that are not even here yet. Let's imagine a world that is not yet. And as a leader, you have to help usher people into that new sense of possibility. So don't just start with how can we fix these cops? Let's not stipulate that we need to have cops. Now, if you personally arrive at the conclusion that we do after thinking this through, cool. But let's not start there, right? Let's imagine a whole new range of possibilities. That's all I'm saying, because they're out there. Oh, shout out to Darnell Moore. Yo, Darnell Moore, one of my favorite people in the whole world. And he also wrote an amazing book that I love. It's one of my. I literally cried when I read No Ashes in the Fire, an amazing memoir that also dares me to not just process, but also to dream, to imagine new people, new selves, new worlds. That's what we have to do. I know this is a little abstract, but as a leader right now, what I want you to do is sit down with the folk you organizing with, bring more voices in, because you need sisters in there, you need trans folk in there, you need queer folk in there, you need everybody in that conversation. It can't just be you leading. We got to get past that mode of a single Negro leading the thing. But figure out what they want and figure out their most ambitious and unreasonable freedom dreams, and then figure out how to get there. Yo, y'all, they're going to make me log out, and I got another event anyway. I love y'all. Thank y'all. Yo to the noobs. I'll be back here probably next week, and we're going to talk about whatever y'all want. Thank y'all for joining. Make sure you check out Uncle Bobbie's, Gofundme.com. We still here. Cash App, Uncle Bobbie's. And also check us out on buy books. I can't remember the link right now, but it was there earlier. Check the page. Love y'all. Peace.